Honestly, man, it's not my job. Obviously, I have a sense and a feel for guys when they don't get the ball and when they are getting the ball.
As far as week 1 overreactions go, this one might be my absolute favorite because I think the other week 1 overreactions were warranted. I felt like coming into the season, the Giants were bound to suck. And the fact that Bryce Young is still having trouble with the Carolina Panthers is definitely grounds for a freak out. But this one is probably the earliest one, and I just wanted to dive into it here. So before we get to the content, make sure you drop a like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. Now that we get all that out of the way, if you follow me on Instagram at @TheFlightMike and followed my Friday night picks for Prize Picks, then you made yourself some money. Unfortunately, I didn't get as lucky with the free square, but luckily for us, we're getting another free square for week 2. And once again, it's with Caleb Williams. All Caleb Williams needs is 1 passing yard versus the Houston Texans for his square to hit. We just gotta pair this with something that we believe is guaranteed and we'll automatically make ourselves some money. I'm gonna post my Caleb Williams pick onto my Instagram story when a new board comes out. And guys, use my promo code Mikerophone to get a free $50 when you play a game of $5 or more. You don't even need to win to get the $50. It's guaranteed. This game's really fun, especially if you're good at projecting how players are going to do. And thank you, Prize Picks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? I've been on record on this YouTube channel in the pre-draft process and even now saying that Marvin Harrison Jr. is probably the most can't miss prospect in the entire NFL draft. He's the son of a Hall of Famer and Super Bowl champion, Marvin Harrison Sr. And we've already made videos in the past documenting just how his father's influence has affected Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, he's literally going toe-to-toe with Fanatics and Michael Rubin just because he didn't prematurely sign away his rights so Fanatics can make an easy buck off of him. The man came out of a wide receiver factory in Columbus, Ohio, and this wide receiver factory has already produced some standout players, such as Jackson Smith-Njigba, Chris Olave, Garrett Wilson, and some players to be very excited for moving forward, like Emeka Egbuka. Not to mention that they recently produced a standout quarterback as well, Justin Fields. No, I'm just kidding. We're talking about CJ Stroud. Don't kill me, Justin Fields fans. But to give you an idea of the amount of hype generated from Marvin Harrison Jr. coming out of the NFL draft, just take a look at the scouting report. There's been a ridiculous run of wideout talent in Columbus the past decade, and Harrison, the son of Colts great Marvin Harrison, is probably the freakiest athlete of the entire group. Harrison's a big dude at 6'3.5" and 206 pounds. He benched 380 pounds this offseason, doing 22 reps at 225. He clocked a blistering 3.94 pro shuttle time and did a 10.9 on the broad jump. He also topped out at 23 miles per hour on the GPS, and as a freshman in 2021, he caught 11 passes for 139 yards and 3 touchdowns, but finished with a flourish, catching 6 passes, including 3 touchdowns, in the Rose Bowl win over Utah. And yeah, guys, nobody was questioning the physical attributes of Marvin Harrison Jr. coming into this year. So much so that he skipped the scouting combine, and to be honest, no one really cared. No one cared that he didn't run the 40-yard dash. Nobody cared that he didn't do any type of shuttle drill or anything of that sort because he was gonna get drafted in the top 5 anyway. And his father was even on record saying that he wanted to focus more on this upcoming regular season as opposed to training for the combine, which would put him at a disadvantage for this season. And nobody batted an eye. Nobody cared. So why am I bringing this up? Well, this video is going to be a 2-parter here for you guys. And the first part is going to be the fact that fans are very concerned about Marvin Harrison Jr.'s speed. Now, I'm going to admit, this is something that I never really cared about because we have footage as early as training camp of Marvin Harrison Jr. not looking so fast, but I just figured that was just the pace he was going at in training camp. Like over here, even fans are saying, oh my God, Marvin Harrison Jr. is looking really slow in the pros. Was he just a product of an elite Ohio State system and QB room? And that's just from training camp. I mean, this video went viral from his week 1 debut versus the Buffalo Bills. I mean, there's multiple things that are wrong here, from his speed, which is what is concerning a lot of fans, to the fact that I'm more concerned with the fact that he just dropped this ball. But even more so, I have other concerns about his debut, which we're gonna get to in just a second, especially because in one of my fantasy football leagues, Marvin Harrison Jr. was my 2nd round pick, and I'm kind of concerned what that means for the future in that league. I'm probably just gonna be playing Prize Picks for the rest of the year. But a lot of fans are concerned about Marvin Harrison Jr.'s speed and also his involvement in week 1. So if you guys happen to have drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. in your fantasy football league, you notice that Marvin Harrison Jr. was only targeted 4 times. Out of those 4 times, he came down with 1 reception for 4 yards. A lot of fans are thinking, what the actual is going on? Because coming into this season, it seemed like a sure thing that Marvin Harrison Jr. was going to be prolific. I mean, he was pro ready, and the Cardinals really don't have many wide receiver options that sound good on paper apart from Marvin Harrison Jr. And I don't mean any offense to Trey McBride, Michael Wilson, or Greg Dortch, but it wasn't the craziest thing to assume that the number 4 pick in this year's NFL draft was going to be absolutely prolific. But if you take a look at his footage in week 1, not only was he playing the X wide receiver and had a very strange route tree, but on top of that, there were moments where Kyler Murray just straight up missed him. You'd assume that Marvin Harrison Jr. would be his first read, but I guess not. And that's what's so strange about this. In this particular play, Kyler Murray danced in the pocket for 6 seconds and somehow missed Marvin Harrison Jr. for a game-altering touchdown. And we even have the all-22 footage of this, and you could see he doesn't even look in his direction until the very last second, and he completely misses him there. So this made me go back and take a look at all of Marvin Harrison Jr.'s routes, and the things that are interesting about this is the way the Cardinals are using Marvin Harrison Jr. And just based off of the scheme that the Cardinals had him in, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a Kyle Pitts-like situation, primarily because the Arizona Cardinals offense typically likes to attack the middle, but at the same time, you can mention the fact that the Buffalo Bills did not surrender the outside to sell out to cover the middle. To give you an idea, the 2 starting wide receivers on the outside for the Arizona Cardinals, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Michael Wilson, only had 2 receptions all game long. But at the very same time, Arizona ranked dead last in fantasy points given to outside wide receivers last year. Now, you could blame that on the scheme, or you could blame that on the lack of personnel, and I guess we're gonna have to wait a couple of weeks to really find out, because it'd be absolutely absurd if Marvin Harrison Jr. doesn't eat just because of the positions that the Cardinals are putting him in. In this game, it seemed like Marvin Harrison Jr. was the first read on maybe a few plays, but there are a lot of people that are discussing whether or not it was right of Kyler Murray to miss this play, because there's 1:10 left in the game, and this would have given the Cardinals the lead over the Buffalo Bills. And to be honest, I am a huge fan of the way Kyler Murray plays the game of football. I don't really like the way he handles the media. I just think it makes him generally an unlikable guy, because this was his take on it.
Yeah, you play football, like, there's a lot of stuff moving around. You're moving fast, like, you don't see everything. Honestly, man, I wouldn't say they were just taking them away. I think, I'm just, as a quarterback, obviously you're going through your reads. Sometimes the ball goes to him, but that's not, it's not my job. Obviously, I have a sense and a feel for guys when they don't get the ball and when they're, when they are getting the ball. But, I leave that up to Drew. Drew always, he tells me don't worry about that type of stuff. Just keep playing your game and, get the ball to where the ball's supposed to go.
I just think it's weird for Kyler Murray to say, hey,
I missed an open read. It's not my job to find the wide receiver with the open read.
Because it is! That's literally your job. Your job is to make the right read each and every time and put points on the board. If you want to say, look, it was a difficult throw to make because it was a 45-yard pass and I was dancing in the pocket, then that's a completely different story. But saying it's not your job and I missed him is like just not the right thing to say here. Now, Marvin Harrison Jr. also says that he was double covered a lot in this game.
Wasn't many of them. So but I feel like I did good.
If you take a look at the footage, there were some moments where he was double covered, which I also think is pretty cool, double covering a rookie wide receiver in his very first game. So you might wonder at this point, what's my opinion on this? I personally think the concerns about Marvin Harrison Jr.'s speed is very similar to when we were panicking about the fact that Jamar Chase was dropping wide open passes in the preseason during his rookie season. I feel like it'd be the most bizarre thing ever to not utilize Marvin Harrison Jr. and just target Greg Dortch and Trey McBride throughout the season. I don't think that's even possible. I feel like as the year goes on, they'll find a better way to use Marvin Harrison Jr., but I will admit, based off of his first game, I'd like to see a more varied route tree from Marvin Harrison Jr. So I think it is an overreaction to be concerned about Marvin Harrison Jr.'s speed. At the same time, I don't think it's an overreaction to be concerned about Marvin Harrison Jr.'s role in the offense this year. But at the same time, that's something that will solve itself throughout the regular season. So we'll keep an eye out on it. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much am I panicking? I'd say like maybe a 3. I think it was strange that he was targeted so few times, including a potential go-ahead touchdown versus the Bills. But I'd like to hear what you have to say about this in the comment section down below, especially if you're a Marvin Harrison Jr. fantasy owner or if you're an Arizona Cardinals fan. Aside from that, I don't know if you heard, but Deshaun Watson has new allegations out against him. It's another woman that went on a date with him. It's a little graphic, and we made a full video on it. I'll leave a link to it in the end screen, and I'll catch you guys there. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.